Eskrima, the indigenous fighting art of the Philippine Islands, also known as Arnis or Cali. It is one of the fastest and deadliest martial arts in the world. Although commonly perceived as a stick fighting art, it is just one component of a complete fighting system. It includes a mastery of short and long-bladed weapons, as well as a variety of empty-hand techniques. The spiritual home of this Filipino fighting art is the island of Cebu. Located in the center of the Philippine archipelago, Cebu has been a trading center and a confluence of cultures since ancient times. Cebu is also home to some of the greatest Eskrima masters in the world. The history of Eskrima in Cebu began in the 13th century when the Srivijayan Empire from Java ruled most of Southeast Asia. They were overthrown by the Majapahit Empire from eastern Java and were forced to flee north to the Philippine Islands. The Srivijayan refugees settled in the central part of the archipelago in what is now known as the Visayan Islands. The Srivijayans were a warrior culture and were said to have brought the technology of forged blades to the islands. When the Spanish came in the 16th century, these Visayan warriors were already practicing a systemized form of warfare against other tribes. In April 27, 1521, Spanish explorer Ferdinand Magellan met his demise at the hands of these Visayan warriors in the Battle of Mactan. The Spanish returned in greater numbers, and with the aid of superior technology, eventually subjugated the islands. After 300 years of Spanish colonial rule, there was a growing fear of rebellion. The Spanish prohibited the Filipinos from practicing Eskrima. The Eskrima masters went underground and began training in secret, using sticks, bolos, and knives, since they were readily available to civilians. ESKRIMADORS soon made stick fighting an art form unto itself. No longer limited to blade-based linear strikes, the emphasis was now on speed and accuracy. Using the stick, meant that attacks could come from more angles and at closer ranges.
Traditional linear is when you strike, it's like a blade. It's a blade pattern strikes, eh? It's like a blade. While the snap wrist, the flicking strike, curving strike is, abanico is part of them. This witik, curving strike. The advantage of this is even if he blocks the strike, it still circles around the defense. Hits it. He blocked the strike, it circles around the defense.
Nanay yung napita, igong ko na. Bisay kung saan pa niya, maigong na siya na. Igo. Pagana. Igo. Pagana kung guko siya. Igo. Pagana ko, iguko siya. Igo gapon.
Too dangerous to attempt with bladed weapons, ESKRIMADORS could now perform disarming maneuvers, of which they have an endless repertoire.
So ang bahito na ko yun eh, nagbunol ako, gurita. Buk mo niya ako, bata ako. Ano ko?
Iyan ang kuhaon. Kuha ako muna. Tuwa sa rin ko.
In the early days, each tribe or clan practiced its own system of eskrima. These were closely guarded secrets, which were passed on from one generation to the next.
Ang akong uyuan na si Arsenio Camurnay, mo ito'y eskrimador. Wa pa nga linig lapunti. Wa pa ito sayangan, eskrima lang. Ana, hangtod nga. Nakato na akong amahan, tinuluan sa akong tuan, akong uyuan.
My grandfather and his brothers been practicing the art since 1890.
That's how they hit with the scale, using the single and double slashes or the half slash.
Kung sa eskrima tayo siya, abaniko ni. Ana raman akong buwan niya, kumaypay. Ana. Akong gidibilog kay mo may gidasa akong amahan. Since nga pagkahibaw din akong eskrima,
Cañetes, my father, he learned, nakat-on sila from my father and my uncles and from other masters. But when they meet with the Sabidras, they found the two Sabidras to have very good techniques. That their eskrima was superior. They adopted the Cañetes as their first, among their first few students.
Kaming 8 brothers, akong 7 brothers, and both eskrima. O yan, di ba sila gusto mabiyahin ko? Yapin ko nila. O gasa silang practice, tuwa, kuyo ko. O. Gulo ng mga apoy sa mga simador, mga master, tuwa ko dito. Dalo man ko magawa.
Kato akong papa, pwede mo ito ibalhin ni ang gurute sa left. Nakusgan mo to akong papa. Ya kay eskwela man po si Idiox Muni, kung mga manghod, eskwela man po sila po. So, ako gi primero, ako gi bidibades kong amahan yun.
ako papa, athlete siya, gusto niya sa mga martial arts. Before nga, noon, nana sa iyang amahan, nana sila mga dumbbell at una. Kaya, kay magbiyahe man siya, ato mga laylay lugar, si Kihor, abot siya mga Bicol, mga isla-isla. Katong siya mga eskrima, daghang kayo mga eskrima. Tawag yung sombraso, kiti, sombra mo nang magpayong, kay sombra means shadow. Kado ano payong.
Ang show sa ko mga eskrimador. Ang show sa ko na mga eskrimador. Plasa mo dugo.
easy because you can just use this. When you punch the other side, and block, and the right back.
Di ko man napugngan. Kaya malubag man ko. So yung tanaw niya kuha niya, buhian ko na. So kawat ko siya ha. So muna ni kawat na. So na. Counter siya, ni counter niya. Ingon ko.
Siya, oh. So, bago ka na ko siya. Ito ko na judo ko, sumbag siya, pak. Mag-iatan.
Magana niya. Tanaw sitwasyon, hopeless no. Hamang flow niya, padong dire. So, ang flow na ko, padong sa dire, padong sa dire.
Paso po. Balik ko mo. Balik ko.
Ito ang flow na ko. Di ko siya mo against na ko dire. Kaya kung gana ko mo-against siya, against. At against, tuyok sa kumag to. Lubag na siya nga rin.
After the American regime was established in Cebu, the Americans encouraged the Filipinos to practice their art. So everybody, all masters, grandmasters, they came out in the open, and that's how they started. So in 1920, with the Sabidra uncle and nephew, they led the group of ESKRIMADORS. They formed the first ever martial art club in the Philippines, itong Labangon Fencing Club. Labangon Fencing Club disbanded in 1930. Then 12 masters revived. Spearheaded by my father, they formed Dusi Paris.
Ito, pagkatukod sa disipare, gimoto nila para nga wanay rivalry. Lain-lain ko pa rin online na club lang. Isig daot, sige mayroon niya mo. Ato hinay nga, ato ni we have to unify all our clubs to avoid rivalry.
It seems the idea came spontaneously.
They called Dusi Paris the best name on the 12 fighting bodyguard of Emperor Charlemagne of France. Each member has his own style, teaching his own style. They have this larga mano, others media largo, medium range, others corto. In corto, they have different styles. And there were masters who were only good in intihads. There were masters who were good only in knife fighting. And there were who specialized only in long blade or bolo fighting.
The perennially secretive masters now shared their techniques with one another. This exchange of ideas brought the fighting art of Eskrima to another level. Grandmaster Filimon, Momoy Cañete, was perhaps the most respected Eskrimador of his era. He served as the chief instructor and guiding figure of Doce Pares until his death in 1995.
Mamuti kugihan sa mga namubase. Mamuti lang yung sima, nadami tanan. Kasi may apil mo nini. Kaya mo old sila mo. Inspire na mo, apil mo nini, kaya may para sa prepare. Mo sa kami, hukom sa tanan.
Watch closely now the various movements of Professor Filimon Cañete. They're using a wooden